Super Eagles poor performance continue as we talk about that particular matter that involved Nigerian Super Eagles versus Desert Foxes of Algeria. It wasn't too good because a lot of Nigeria expecting more change from that game, but nothing really changes. Well, we'll be talking about all this as we welcome you on the show, 360 Sport on Trust TV. I am Adeni Ajishafe. Well, we actually look at the first story. Super Eagles poor form continued after a slim loss against Algeria in Oran. Although it ended 2-1, we actually scored first courtesy of Terry Murphy, but it was just a game that turned around as the Algerians came out. They were able to do it, and they scored 2 goals to make it 2-1 against Super Eagles of Nigeria. After we played 2-2 against the Team B of the same Algeria. I have in the studio Fidelis Umba, who will be joining me to talk sport this hour. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's look at this Super Eagles performance. A lot of Nigerians have been talking since yesterday when that event actually happened in Oran, Algeria. It was a game that Eagles started on a very good note, but later they dropped the baton. It's as if they just lost concentration and the Algerians came out. And especially, let's look at the goalkeepers. Our goalkeeper, the one that actually kept for us yesterday, that's Francis Uzoho. It was as if the same thing that happened to Maduka Okoye happens to Uzoho. If you check Daniel Akpeyi, the same thing. That department, that's another issue concerning Super Eagles. But the entire squad, what really happened?
Well, starting with the goalkeepers, I think you won't. To some extent, they share in the blame, but again, you don't blame them that much. I mean, you're taking a shot from almost 40 yards, and the defenders were watching. So what were the defenders expected to do? Just a simple thing, block the attackers from taking shots. We suffered same thing against Ghana. If you remember the goal scored by Partey, So this is not the first time. This is not the second. We've had series of that. We also have to admit that our goalkeepers have performed poorly in recent years since Kali Keme left. I'm not talking about the Enyama, because after Enyama, we had Kali Keme.
Yes.
Keme was doing pretty well. And again, I think we had a solid defense lineup. So that helped in terms of protecting the goalkeeper. But in recent times, we've been gambling. Today we use Akpoguma. Tomorrow we use Balogun. The next day we use someone else. So we use Omero and all that. They keep gambling. And then you look at it, which clubs do our defenders play in? We have most of them are in the second division, so most of them are not playing in elite football clubs. So let's also admit that the Algerians, on paper, they're better than us. Because if you look at the clubs where these Algerians play, where do our players play? Most of our players are in second division, playing in very lower clubs. So you can compare them with the Algerians. And again, the crowd was, they had the advantage of the crowd at Oran. The crowd was behind the Algerian players. I don't know if that was what was still intimidating them, because when we had the likes of, Mikel, or if you have someone, the era of Mikel and the rest of them, who were more established players, no matter how you shout, no matter how you scream at the players, their composure was key. If you look at the chances we fluffed during the game, some of them, I don't know if it was as a result of tension, or maybe they were so much in a hurry, sometimes indecision. So starting from the goalkeepers, they are not doing well. I think we possibly need to get players from the even from the local league who are good. There's a goalkeeper I've watched. I think he's with Remo Stars. That guy he's better than forget about where those players are playing. That guy, I feel, is better if given an opportunity. He's better than these guys who have been parading. Uzoho, I don't know if it's because of his height. Most times he can't, even before he gets to the ground, the ball has gone in.
Well, there are goalkeepers that are taller than him.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you look at Real Madrid goalkeeper and the other people who are much taller. But again, those ones, they are reflexes. I feel like, if you compare Uzoho, where is he playing compared to the other players?
Cyprus.
So I feel like the players, maybe to some extent, the coach is giving too much respect to these players. Maybe put them on the bench to watch a local goalkeeper perform and do well, and they'll be challenged.
Now, taking you on this, look at the squad that played this game. You can actually say, okay, we didn't have Balogun, Ekong, that's Napoli striker Osimhen, and maybe a few others. That's in Didi. But if you still look at this score, we can call this is still Super Eagles, because these are the major players that we parade. Aside the names I actually mentioned, you look at the substitute now, those on the bench. The goalkeeper they brought from Israel, that's Adebayo, Ozoriwa that came on for Balogun, Ejuke, Cyril Dessa, who played for Cremonese, Godwin, Xavier. You have Duru, Awoni, Onyedika, Awaziem, Omeru. You look at the players that actually started the first as first 11, Uzoho, Aina, Sanusi Zeidu, played for FC Porto, Franco Yenka, Lukman Ademola, Teremofi, who plays for Lorient in France, Akpoguma, Iheanacho, Simon, that's Moses Simon that played for Nantes as the captain, Alexi Wobi, and you have Calvin Bassey. And you look at this particular squad, like, what is really wrong with Eagles? Even the fact that you mentioned Mikel, with all due respect to him, I would rather prefer a JJ Okocha. When, if you want to talk about Eagles' performance, the era of Okocha, Odegbami, Chukwu, like that, compared to the era of Mikel down to these Eagles, quite the gap is very, very wide. Because if you look at 2006 Nations Cup, from World Cup qualifier that we couldn't make it, and from that time, even from 2000, our football started dwindling exactly after that Olympic gold medal we won at Atlanta, 1996. Yeah. Watch 1998, we struggled at the World Cup. 2002, Korea, Japan, it started like that. 2000, and then it was going down, spiral, just going down. Look at us in 2022. We played Team B of Algeria, the main Super Eagles. There is no excuse now. We should just tell ourselves the truth. Even if they should bring Osimhen, Balogun, and others that didn't play in this game, I don't see any difference, because the performance really shows that, okay, we play how many friendly under Coach Pizarro now? We play Mexico, we play at least Ecuador and all that. We've not won anyone. And you look at, we're going to play Portugal by November, another international friendly, Portugal. And
potential whitewash.
So what are you expecting? People are looking at, okay, what has been the difference between Pizarro, Eguavon, Ganoro so far? It seems everything is just almost like the same. There's no hunger. You can't find that spirit that, oh, these Super Eagles are playing. They make you feel so happy. That's why I mentioned the set of Rashidi Akini or Kocha. You can be rest assured that, yes, something will happen. But these days, if Eagles are playing, it's either you are worried or you are just like, I'm not interested, whatever they play. That's just the notion right now.
For me, I feel one is the technical ability of the handlers. Because we have, in terms of talent, we have a crop of young players who are really good, who are doing well. I mean, yeah, Alaino has always like performed.
Yeah,
well.
Actually, he stood out yesterday.
Yes.
It shows that
almost in all our matches.
Some flashes of Zanetti.
Yes, he has that hunger. You know, he's a modern, attacking fullback, and he's performed very well. Calvin Bassey is still just, not there yet. Maybe Ajax will help him. Yeah, yes. Because I feel like maybe age, maybe experience, because he still lacks that. He needs a bit of polishing. He has that determination. He's very determined to play, but he still has those rough edges that need to be polished. And then you talk about these so-called stars you mentioned. You talk about the Wobbies. You talk about all that. Apart from all these stars, I think the only person that has always shown that hunger is Osimhen. If you watch our gaming against Ghana here at the National Stadium in Abuja, Osimhen showed so much hunger. You could see that he was desperate to be at the World Cup. Unfortunately, his teammates let him down. There was no more like team coordination. In fact, after that game, I gave up. I'm more like, what pattern were we actually playing? You had defensive midfielders all over the pitch with defenders, just very few attacking-minded players. Even then, you bring in a Simon. When they are at their clubs, they perform so well. They come to the Super Eagles, they feel they've arrived. Look at after what Simon did at the Nations Cup, because they started telling him the Nigerian Messi and all that.
The best.
Then the next thing you give him the ball, he hangs on to the ball for so long, he's trying to showboat, which is actually not necessary. So the thing is, we should also, I think we are overrated Our expectations are so high that we need to lower our expectations. We have a crop of good individual players, but then as a team, we're not good enough. We don't play as a good team. We are yet to more like fashion out a particular pattern that we play. At the Nations Cup, we haven't tried in terms of like we could see flashes of team coordination. Right now, we can't even string 8 to 10 passes. Before 3-4 passes, we lose the ball. So how do you think you will be able to coordinate? And I think the players, I don't know if there's a problem among them because that unity is not there on the pitch. Based on what we watch, they tend to want to individually showcase their skills. They decide, just like what used to happen the time of Sia and at the national team, where certain players were not getting the passes. You remember when
that was what happened in 1998 World Cup.
Yeah, when Jonathan Akpobore he was performing so well in Germany, he will come to Super Eagles.
Nothing.
He will run, they'll give him the back behind. And when he slows down, they give him the ball in front. So this, I'm beginning to see signs of what happened around that, compared to the Jonathan Akpobore era. So I don't think he's actually shown me any good sign that
he can handle
Eagles. I don't know. I won't say the players are bigger than him, but I don't know what the problem is. Again, if you talk about the hunger, you talked about the Rashidi era and all that, these players were patriotic. These players, they were actually playing football because they loved the game, not because of money, not like what we're seeing today. And they gave their all. And at that time, I think the NFA then were responsive in terms of like, if you get injured, they'll reach out to you, they'll try to assist you. Now these players, if you watch, they don't even want to make hard tackles because if you get injured, the NFF forgets about you. They call the next player. And for all the time, the period you're injured, if you're lucky, you might just get a phone call. How many times do they even get visited? Have we, the sports ministry or the MNFF, have you had them maybe sending money to assist any player who's injured?
Remember what happened to Emenike?
Yes.
Emmanuel?
Yeah. So these are, so when they come, most of them just want to rack up international caps. Not really because they are so desirous and patriotic to represent Nigeria. It's more of how many caps at the end of your career. They'll be talking about that in terms of records. So I think the MFF has to do its bit, and then the players also have, the coaching crew, they have to sit down and really say, okay, what's really wrong with us? Let's put this aside. We are carrying the badge, which represents more than 200 million people, and we can't continue to break their hearts.
They cannot continue to break the hearts of over 250 million Nigerians. It's just an opportunity and also a privilege to don the colors of the Nigerian team, the Super Eagles. If you are called upon to represent Nigeria, always deem it fit to be patriotic, not playing a kind of showboating of football. Just be there to represent your country. Well, we've been talking about Super Eagles' performance against Algeria, Desert Foxes. Not too good anyway, but we just hope that they will get it better by the time they face Portugal come November. From there, we move to talk about another one. Though this time around has to do with the Nigerian Football Federation election. Well, the 11 aspirant, the presidential aspirant, met with the Minister of Youth and Sports on the diary just yesterday. Let's look at that story. Uncertainties surround NFF elective Congress as aspirants meet Minister of Sport. Well, from the way it is, the court injunction standing that election will not hold, well, it's still there. And the minister had to at least deem it fit, so call upon all the 11 presidential aspirants to meet with him, and they had some meeting looking at the security aspect of it and a lot of things involved. Well, today is 28, 2 days to election. Yeah. The court injunction is there holding down the election, although according to news featuring that some of the coming from the presidential aspirant that, well, they will obey the court's ruling by waiting to see if that particular injunction can be removed between now and Friday, which can be done if they want to do it. But if all they need to do is at least NFF should just, from the way I see it, let's just draw pride. Call these guys. What can we do? Let's settle this thing. And it can be settled. Because I listened to one of Romsey Barebote's voice where he was talking about things that they could do to make them remove this thing from the country, and then this election can actually hold. Enough is enough of all these problems. It's affecting our football one way or the other.
Yeah, we're experiencing the same thing that happened with the Nigeria Basketball Federation, where, at a point where our girls were doing so well.
Look at the pain. They couldn't go to the World Cup.
They couldn't go to the World Cup, the international championship, and the players were demoralized. You have a crop of young players desirous of representing their country who were very passionate, patriotic, young, especially the young girls. I felt for them. Most of them coming from the US, coming to Nigeria, and then you're suddenly telling them that intra-politics, within the association is actually preventing them from going to the World Cup. Very painful. And the way we're going, we're lucky that we're not going to the World Cup, because this would have also more like affected our preparations. Teams are already talking about taking a break very soon to go to camps to be able to prepare. And here we are still talking about NFF election, whether to hold, and the ability to vacate the court order between now and Friday looks almost impossible.
Very sketchy.
Because the meeting with Sunday Dare yesterday, the sports minister, was more like, to me, it looked like more like a courtesy call. More like they just sat. There was nothing concrete, because if at the end a concrete decision was reached, with that agreement, they would have said, okay, you know what? You went to court to seek an injunction restraining us from conducting this election. Please, in the spirit of peace and unity, can you please vacate this court order, or just withdraw it, or allow us to, approach the court to vacate it so that we can go ahead. But it doesn't look, like that. And this is going to continue. This is not the first time, of course. We're used to NFF politics anytime there's election, especially now that there's so much interest after what had happened, all the crises, all the clashes, with Pinnick going away. Whoever he's going, those going to replace him. They also know that there's so much money to be made, which is why you see every Tom, Dick, and Harry, they are all throwing their hats into the ring
to see who will get it.
And this, for me, it's not because they are passionate. It's not because they have the interest of football at heart. It's all about lining up their pockets. This is not just with this. It's happened over the years. At least I've been in Abuja here. I've been, going to the NFF since the early 2000s, from about 2001, 2002. And it has been the same story from all the way from Galadima, the period of Galadima and the rest of them. Every year, anytime there are elections, the same set of people. It's just a case of recycling same set of people to cause problems for us. And I feel like, it's just unfortunate that when even you want to wield the big stick, which is government intervening, FIFA will come with their big hammer. I think these administrators understand that because of FIFA's backing, that's why they're doing this.
They can
Otherwise, if not for FIFA, I can even say, after all, we're not going to the World Cup. Why not try more like wield the big stick, remove everybody, and try to rebuild? We still have like the next 4 years to be able to organize our football. But unfortunately, FIFA is just by the corner. If you do anything, you get a big hammer.
We just hope everything will go well with Nigerian football. Well, as the election actually draw closer, a lot of issues here and there. Now, one of the presidential aspirants from Imo State, as Imo State FA chairman, that is Amanze Chebulam, says, count me out of an NFF election if court order is not vacated. Well, today is 28, and just 2 days before election, we are waiting to see if truly that court's order will be vacated for us to have that election conducted. At least the NFF Congress is supposed to be coming up in Benin City, Edo State, and right now it seems as if the course is not clear yet to see if this election will be coming out. Though news also say that some FIFA observers, CAF observers are coming to Nigeria. We wait to see, because another set of Nigerians are also coming out to say, if you come to Nigeria to come and observe this election, we will arrest you. A lot of issues here and there concerning that election. Quickly, let's talk about Mikel Obi. Mikel Obi retires from professional football. He has been there, he has seen it all. He has been able to do well for Chelsea, for Turkish team, a Nigerian team, a lot of clubs that he played for. Lyn Oslo of Norway before. If you remember, that move that caused a lot of brouhaha between Manchester United and Chelsea before eventually pitched tent with the Blues. Well, good one. Mikel Obi retired from professional football. Quickly, let's look at the numbers of Mikel before Fidelis Umba will give us more analysis there. Well, 91 international caps, 6 international goals for Nigeria. He played 91 times, AFCON. He won once in 2013 under Lee Stephen Keshi, won Olympic bronze, won Champions League, 2 EPL titles. You have Europa League 1, 3 FA Cups, 1 League Cup, and 1 Community Shield, alongside 1 Turkish Cup that he actually won in Turkey. Good one, John Obi Mikel career in numbers.
Well, Mikel is about the most successful Nigerian footballer alive. And I think he's done well for himself. I understand he was trying to get one more shot at, getting a club, but he didn't succeed. Apparently, he just changed his mind at the last minute, because I remember during the transfer window, he was making efforts to get a club somewhere around the Gulf, but it didn't work out, and he had to more like take a decision to retire. Some people were saying, oh, it's too early and all that, but again, after a while, you feel like you need a rest. He's 35 now. The young man that we saw, young player.
I think that picture we have it where himself, Taiwo, and Messi, when they got that award, I remember 2005 thereabout.
Yeah. But again, one thing some people have expressed disappointment with his, how his career turned out. But again, do you blame him? He came into a Chelsea team that was star-studded. You had the Ballads, you had Frank Lampard. Who was he going to displace at that point? And Mourinho saw him as a young man who's very strong and all that, and who's a very technical player, and decided to use him as a holding midfielder or as a central midfielder. And he performed so well, and Mourinho felt, look, this player can give me what I want. But if you look at it again, Mikel, was he like one of the fastest players as a attacking midfielder? So maybe Mourinho looked at this and said, look, rather than loan him out to maybe small clubs to get experience as an attacking midfielder, he's not as fast as maybe, Messi. Okay, look at Kevin De Bruyne now. Look at the rate at which he plays. He's up, he's at defense in minutes. He runs so fast. Mikel is not, as much as Mikel was very, very talented, very skillful, but again, did he have that speed to be able to compete?
Mikel, actually, he excelled so well in Chelsea. But here in Nigeria, a lot of Nigerians are not happy with his football because he was always playing backward.
No, the thing is, he played as, he played a holding role for Chelsea. And whenever he came to the Super Eagles, we played him in an attacking
as a midfielder
position. And so we expected him to create all the chances and all that. But again, he was already used to holding midfield. And there's something, as a holding midfielder, he's already thinking, oh, I need to shield the defenders. So from the attack, you see him coming back always, because that's what he's used to playing at the club. That's why some people were disappointed. They expected him to be like the Messi. Who
it wasn't easy to convert. Anytime he comes to Nigeria to convert.
But by and large, I think he's done well both for Nigeria and also the clubs he played. Also remember he played for Kuwaiti FC. His career, to some extent, some felt it would have ended better, especially after the controversy with Trabzonspor, because his last 2 clubs, he had controversy. He left in controversial ways. In Trabzonspor, he had to leave during COVID, and then when he went to Kuwaiti FC, his contract was also terminated by mutual consent. So,
I remember when he went to Tianjin of China.
Yeah. He did so well, and he also made good money for himself. And I think after he left after Chelsea, he went to China, and he did so well before coming to Trabzonspor. Okay, before even playing for Stoke and then going to Trabzonspor. Maybe one would have expected that maybe he would try out the MLS, or maybe one more shot. It's better. We hope that maybe he will take up a coaching license, because he's a very technical person who reads the game very well. And as a coach, I see him excelling. But what I don't know is his man management skills, because coaching is not just about the technical ability. Also, how you manage your players is key.
How you manage your player is key. Congratulations to Mikel Obi in his career. Well, he did well for Chelsea, for all the clubs he mentioned. And also he played for Super Eagles and won a lot of medals for himself. Don't forget, in 2013, at least the team, as a squad member of that team that won the Nations Cup for Nigeria under late Stephen Keshi. John Mikel Obi, enjoy your retirement. Well, good one there. We just have to go now. Our time is really running out. One more story before we run it out. Nations League, Spain dumps Portugal. It was a match a lot of people want to see what's going to happen between Ronaldo's team. Well, maybe you can call it Ronaldo's team. At least he has won it with them formally. But right now, Spain dumps Portugal out of the competition. It was a tough one. From there, quickly, let's look at the results before we actually wrap it up. The UEFA Nations League results, some matches we actually played, where you have some teams doing so well. Slovenia, Sweden 1-1. Norway, they lost against Serbia. Erling Haaland couldn't reply any of the goals. You have Iceland 1, Albania 1. Ukraine 0-0 against Scotland. Armenia lost against Ireland 2-3. Switzerland 2, Czech Republic 1. Spain beat Portugal, as I said. And Kosovo, surprisingly, they actually walloped Cyprus 5-1. And you have Greece 3. Northern Ireland 1. Those are the results as it went down. But attention was really on Portugal and Spain because of Ronaldo. Yeah, but Spain has got a very good, young, very good team because the transition for the Spanish football club has been, they've done so well with the transition. A mix of some of the young players, old players like Busquets, teaming up with young players like Gavi and the rest of them. So for Portugal, they have a good set of ball jugglers, but they've always had problems with converting some of their chances, which is actually why you see in most cases they lose games. But, it's a big disappointment for Ronaldo, especially for Ronaldo, who's hoping that maybe he'll have the final shot at the Nations League. Maybe he can even win it again. But at least the joy of winning, at least for the first time, as you remember, the team won it, that's Portuguese team. They're celebrating that, but the hope that they can go for another shot. It didn't work out this time around. But again, they came up against a very tough opposition. And again, very young in recent times, Spain has not been doing so well. So there was pressure on Enrique to be able to turn things around. And he did deliver when it mattered most. Especially against Ronaldo's team. I keep calling Ronaldo's team anyway, but there's no way you have Ronaldo or Messi in a team. You won't call that team their team. Well, they've been very outstanding for the past 10, 12 years, talking about those two legends when it comes to football. That will be it on 360 Sport. We've been with Fidelis in the studio. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adeniyi. I am Adeniyi Ajishafe. Sport is always business and fitness. Keep doing it. Once again, thanks for watching.